One battle after another is a newly released movie from director Paul Thomas Anderson and Warner Brothers Studios. The film stars none other than Leonardo Dicaprio himself, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, and a slew of lesser-established actors that includes Teyana Taylor and Chase Infiniti. The movie is described as the story of a group of ex-revolutionaries coming back together after 2 decades to protect one of their own. This is a very densely packed film, and for anyone who has been longing for lavish cinema, there is enough here to go around. Visually, the movie is stunning. 2 standout moments are an escape sequence through a rooftop and a car chase through the American desert. The former plays wonderfully with shadows, and the later is shot from the point of view of the car, or that of the driver, depending on your school of thoughts. As for the story, it is perhaps the most captivating aspect of the film. It is at times earnest, at times funny, and almost always as direct as can be. While the plot can often seem indecisive, that is not to a fault. The movie is deliberately unwilling to commit to just one character's arc, and thus one thesis. As viewers, because Dicaprio is the biggest name on the call sheet, we fall prey to the assumption that we must be paying attention to him the most. However, in a surprising turn of events, this character is quite off-brand for him. Leonardo is portraying a dud, an unremarkable man in his story, in his traits, and even in his name, Bob. In all fairness, in the beginning of the story, Bob is a passionate and energetic revolutionary. Unfortunately, that passion is lost to time. Bob grows to become a cynical, lazy, and addicted man, with little to no impact on the story. Bob is the type of man who constantly needs saving. We watch him go, stumble around, and repeatedly fail to achieve anything. Bob even fails a paternity test and abruptly loses his status as the emotional conflict of the film. His fatherhood, what was perhaps the one thing this character had going on, gets effectively taken away, leaving him to hold the mic for someone else. And so, because Dicaprio, or Bob, consistently fails to move the story forward, the viewer is forced to pay attention to the other characters, and there is many of them, all significantly more interesting than Bob. Teyana Taylor plays a feisty revolutionary named Perfidia. Perfidia's numerous antics constantly cause mayhem for the rest of the group. Her insatiable appetite for chaos fringes on plain anarchism. Perfidia is the one who sets the whole story in motion. At the beginning, she is the hot-headed protagonist whom everything revolves around. Later on, when her character leaves the screen, that responsibility shifts onto her daughter, Willa. After her encounter with Regina Hall's character, Deandra, a 16-year-old Willa becomes involved in the action. Once fully caught up, Willa becomes the main protagonist as she is left alone to fight for her life. This is a slow burn arc. It will take 2 hours to reach this climax, but the journey is worth it. One of the highlights of that journey is when the movie walks us through the world of the character Sergio, also known as Sensei. Sergio is portrayed by Benicio del Toro. He lives a double life as a martial arts teacher during the day and the leader of an underground network of undocumented immigrants at night. The movie does a solid job at conveying the kind of spirit it takes to lead such a life. Sensei is cold-headed and competent. His entire world is descending into chaos, but we never see him panic. He is prepared for any emergency. His steadfastness is wonderfully juxtaposed with Bob's lack of preparation. The revolutionaries, with their bloated protocols, also falter in comparison to Sensei's network. In a very Kafkaesque turn of events, Paul Thomas Anderson hits Bob, the panicked parent of a missing child, with a maddening wall of bureaucracy. We watch as Bob struggles on the phone with the revolution's emergency hotline, while the sensei has already gathered all of his clandestines, lined them up neatly, and offered them safe passage through an underground tunnel without ever drawing the attention of the enemy. Sensei and his followers perform this drill so smoothly, in fact, that by the time they are done, he has the leisure to save Bob's mission twice. Once from Bob's lack of athletic abilities as the aging man that he is, then a second time from Bob's lack of the resources needed to complete his mission. By this point, Sensei had already saved Leonardo's Bob once before, when he offered him a safe hideout as the enemy was fast approaching. Sensei was already very calm then. Though at that point, it was not clear whether that stoicism was fueled by cluelessness or know-how. The character was still a stranger to us. As the story progresses, it all comes together. Without Sensei, Bob would have never been able to make it to the finish line. And though willing to help, Sensei never prioritizes Bob's problems. It is only after he has solved his own that he takes the time to help Bob. This is just one of many different ways in which Paul Thomas Anderson purposely gave what we expected to be side characters full agency and depth. Now, through the casting of 3 black actresses, this movie is in many ways a story about black womanhood, even if it never fully commits to that mantle. In fact, the movie is not committed to any of its mantles. Instead, it seems set on letting everybody have their moment, and does so without ever falling apart. One battle after another is not committed to redeeming Leonardo or Bob, a single father who has sacrificed his lifestyle to protect his daughter. It is not committed to providing a definitive haven to the immigrants it sets on the run. It is not committed to solving the moral dilemma Deandra faces when she is asked to give up her colleagues. It is not even committed to unmasking and taking down the evil oligarchs who yearn so desperately for the glorious days of white supremacy. It instead allows them to go on about their day without so much of a directly issued protest. No one ever even comes anywhere close to these characters as they continue to pull the strings from the comfort of highly guarded skyscrapers. The movie does posits that these are people you do not want to mess with, yet Perfidia and her daughter are set on doing exactly that. The film grows into its title when it ends in a narrative loop, as Willa follows in her mother's footsteps to become a revolutionary. The battle goes on. In summary, one battle after another is a masterful execution of a complex exercise. This is an achievement that the rough edges of this movie cannot outweigh, much like the heavy legs of influence and money cannot crush the spirit of the ants they walk all over.